Hi mamas, welcome back to Adventures in the Schoolhouse, and it's spring and we are doing all kinds of fun lessons in the garden this spring. So from planting to, our dog's coming over for the read. From planting in the garden to doing our Operation Pollination lesson, which ties in with our milkweed that we planted in the garden and our butterfly life cycle project. So today I'm reading one of my favorite garden books, and it is called The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. And I love this one. So let me get my glasses on. All right. Got lots of fun garden lessons for you on the website, The Curious Garden. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working years ago. And since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he had expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. And here he is singing to the plants and flowers. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real garden. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. I wanted to explore. It wanted to explore. Our dog is howling. The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the Curious Garden explored every corner of the railway. Wow, how big it is now. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. He's getting ready. That's what we're doing, boys and girls. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. But thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Here it goes. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Wow, look at the city now. I love the stairs. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. And look at that city. Wow. All right, guys, I just love this book. And I don't know if your house is like our house, where you see little weeds and flowers just sprouting up at different places in the yard where you hadn't planted them, because the birds will carry, right, seeds, and they'll carry some of the flowers and place them in odd places, and then new flowers will start growing in places that you weren't expecting, just like in the story. So every spring we grow a garden. And I don't know if you grow a garden at home, but if you don't have room for a garden, you could do an herb garden, or just some potted plants, and start with that. And so I want to encourage you to plant a garden with us this spring. And then we've got some fun activities on the website that tie in with our garden themes. Looking forward to it.